If I told you right now, like today, that over a third of high-income households,
Right. People with plenty of disposable income.
exactly, people who are definitely not struggling to pay their bills, if I told you they are out there meticulously checking unit prices on dish soap,
Yeah, and actively switching to generic store brand pasta.
you probably think the economy is secretly crashing or something, right?
Oh, totally. You'd assume the worst.
But it's actually not. What's really happening is that the basic math of how we shop is just, it's fundamentally broken.
It really is. I mean, we are looking at a total psychological overhaul in how people buy things right now.
Yeah.
The traditional ledgers that companies have relied on for decades, they don't map to human behavior anymore.
Well, welcome to the deep dive. Today, our mission is unpacking an incredibly insightful stack of research from C3 Centricity, along with global expert Denise Drummond-Dunn.
It's some really fascinating stuff.
It is. We're looking at a massive shift in how consumer packaged goods or CPG brands have to operate today. Specifically, we're focusing on a piece of research titled, Value-Seeking Consumers Are Changing CPG Growth. Why price is not enough.
Which is such a critical topic right now.
Absolutely. So whether you are a CPG executive looking to reignite some momentum in your company, or you're just a curious consumer trying to figure out why your own grocery trips feel so different lately, this deep dive is going to completely shatter what you think a value shopper actually is.
Yeah, it really flips the whole concept on its head. To set the stage for all of this, the core premise across these sources is that we have entered this era of, well, deeply cautious consumers.
Cautious, but they're still spending, right?
Yes, exactly. People are still spending money. The rules of engagement, however, have fundamentally changed. Today, every single product has to aggressively earn permission just to enter the shopping basket.
It's a gauntlet.
It's a total gauntlet.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to really understand this new, very cautious consumer, we first have to dismantle the outdated way that most CPG companies are currently analyzing them.
Right, because the disconnect is huge.
It is jarring. Looking at this research, the contrast between how a brand sees a product and how you, the consumer, see it, it's like they're speaking two different languages.
Completely. The research points out that a massive number of CPG teams are still operating under this legacy assumption that value simply means price.
Just a number on a tag?
Exactly. Or, it means a temporary discount, or maybe just adjusting the pack size so the unit economics look a little better on paper. Essentially, they treat value like a spreadsheet.
Which, makes sense from the inside of a massive corporation.
Sure.
The spreadsheet is safe, You can take it to a board meeting.
It's highly predictable. Price is visible on that spreadsheet. Promotions are highly measurable.
Yeah, the math just works.
Right. The finance department wants to see the margin protected, and the sales team, well, they want a simple story to tell retailers to get better shelf space.
So everyone is happy internally.
Exactly. So structurally, these companies try to solve value as a pricing problem. But the fatal flaw here, as the text brilliantly puts it, is that consumers do not experience value as a spreadsheet.
Right. Because nobody walks through a grocery aisle doing complex Excel macros in their head.
No, of course not.
I was looking at this and thinking about the difference between, like, a business contract and a relationship.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
Right. The CPG companies are basically handing the consumer a business contract full of logical pros and cons. They're saying, look, we're 10 cents cheaper per ounce than the other guy.
Yeah.
But the consumer's looking back as if evaluating a relationship, asking, do I actually trust you? Does this product even fit my life right now? Or are you just cheap?
That framing captures the disconnect perfectly. It's not a static contractual decision based on math. It is a live, emotional, contextual judgment.
A judgment, yeah.
The consumer is looking at that product and actively asking if it deserves their money, their pantry space, and ultimately, like you said, their trust.
And there's data to back this up, right?
Yes. The McKinsey 2026 State of the Consumer Report actually tracks this directly. They document the rise of what they call the resourceful consumer.
Resourceful, meaning they aren't just reacting to prices, they're actively managing their resources.
That's the key right there. This resourceful consumer is shaped by intense cost pressure, certainly, but they are equally shaped by ubiquitous technology, by shifting health priorities, and by a highly fragmented path to purchase.
There's just so much information out there
It's
now.
too much information. Because of that, McKinsey points out that brands must consistently earn the right to be chosen.
Earn the right to be chosen. Man, that implies it can be lost at any moment.
In a heartbeat.
You don't just get bought because you're sitting at eye level on the shelf anymore. Which honestly brings me back to that wild statistic we started with.
The high-income shoppers.
Yeah, if value isn't just about finding the absolute cheapest price on the shelf, then who exactly is this value-seeking consumer? Because the Deloitte 2026 Global Consumer Products Industry Outlook just completely destroys our traditional demographic buckets here.
Oh, the data in the Deloitte report is staggering. They classify 47% of consumers globally as value seekers.
That is almost half the planet.
Half the planet actively changing how they shop. But the most crucial detail is the makeup of that group. It actually includes 35% of high-income households.
Over a third of high-income households. I mean, the sources go so far as to call the idea that value seekers simply have less money a lazy assumption.
Which is such a great phrase.
It is. But I do want to push back on the mechanics of this just a bit.
Sure.
If a household has plenty of disposable income, they aren't sweating the utility bill. Why are they bothering to scrutinize the unit price of a premium pasta versus a private label? If you have the money, why does that marginal difference even register?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to look at the fundamental difference between two very distinct psychological concepts that the research highlights.
Okay, what are they?
Affordability versus justification.
Ah,
Affordability simply asks, can they pay? Does the high-income shopper have the money for the premium pasta? Of course they do.
right.
But justification asks, do they believe it is worth paying?
Ah. So it's about the feeling of the transaction, not the capacity for it.
Exactly. A high-income shopper might absolutely resent the idea of waste. Or, they might look at a premium brand making a really weak or vague sustainability claim and just reject it on principle.
Just out of spite, almost.
Right. It's not about cheapness for them. It's about being deliberate. It's about being intentional. Nobody, regardless of their net worth, wants to feel taken advantage of by a brand.
Nobody wants to feel like a sucker.
Exactly. But the persistent problem is that so many brands focus purely on affordability. They're asking, are we priced right for this demographic bucket?
While completely ignoring the other side of the coin.
Yes, they completely underinvest in justification. They forget to ask, are we giving them a compelling reason to choose us over a perfectly good store brand?
I mean, you could be a millionaire and still hate feeling like you got ripped off by a subpar product.
Yeah, absolutely.
And conversely, a really expensive premium product can feel like incredible value if, the usage experience, the trust, or the emotional reward is strong enough. The brand doesn't get to decide if something is worth it. You, the consumer, act as the ultimate judge.
And because consumers are actively searching for that justification rather than just basic affordability, it creates this incredible make-or-break moment right there, the actual shopping aisle. The sources refer to this as the permission to buy test.
Permission to buy. That's that split second of hesitation at the shelf, right?
Yes. It is the single most critical moment in retail right now. I mean, the consumer doesn't consciously stand there saying, I am now assessing perceived value.
Right. They're not robots.
But they pause. They pick up the box. They check the ingredient label. Or they suddenly remember if the product disappointed them last month. Or they wonder if half of it is going to spoil in the fridge before they can even use it.
Yeah, we've all been there.
That tiny window of hesitation, that is where market growth is either won or lost today.
The NIQ 2026 Consumer Outlook gives us some really hard data on what gets a consumer past that hesitation, actually.
What did they find?
They report that 95% of consumers say trusting the brand they are buying from is either very or somewhat important. 95%.
Wow. Trust is essentially the new currency of the grocery aisle then. Consumers are spending intentionally and they're only rewarding brands that deliver both trust and value simultaneously.
And we can see this playing out mechanically with clean label products. NIQ highlights that clean label products in the U.S. are actually growing faster than the overall consumer packaged goods average.
Which makes sense.
Right. But a product with a clean, transparent label is almost never the cheapest option on the shelf.
No, it usually commands a premium.
Exactly. But it passes the permission to buy test because it answers a very specific consumer need for confidence.
It proves that the concept of value stretches way, way beyond just the price tag.
What I find so fascinating about this permission to buy test is how wildly contextual it is. I mean, the variables change entirely based on who the user is in that exact moment.
Oh, absolutely.
Think about a mother buying baby food. Her permission to buy test is governed entirely by safety, nutrition, and absolute trust in those ingredients.
Nothing else matters.
Right. But then think about a stressed commuter grabbing a coffee at 7 a.m. Their test is heavily weighted towards speed, friction reduction, and just a quick caffeine hit.
Totally different test.
Or take a premium beauty shopper deciding whether to drop $80 on a serum repurchase. Their test is about efficacy and emotional reward. They might all be classified as value-seeking, but they are seeking completely different types of value based on their immediate reality.
And that contextual reality means the internal question for a CPG company can no longer be, are we cheap enough to win?
It can't be.
It has to be, what does the consumer need this specific product to prove before they feel comfortable choosing it?
Looking at the research, this is where companies usually get it wrong. If slapping a bright yellow 20% off sticker on a product doesn't automatically overcome this hesitation anymore, brands have to stop guessing. You have to start pulling very specific levers.
Yes.
The text introduces something called the new value map to help map out those specific proof points.
The new value map is crucial. It completely flips the perspective. It doesn't start with the company's pricing ladder. It starts with the consumer's actual life and the specific barriers causing that hesitation at the shelf.
What kind of barriers?
Well, they usually fall into categories like confidence, relevance, waste, friction, or just a lack of permission. The map breaks down into several core levers that a brand can actually pull.
The most obvious one is functional value, right?
Right.
This is the baseline. Does the product actually work? Does it solve the problem it claims to solve?
Because if you fail on functional value, nothing else matters. You can be as cheap as you want, but if it doesn't work, I'm not buying it again.
Exactly.
Then there is confidence value. Can the consumer trust these ingredients? Can they trust the sourcing?
Yeah.
Next is convenience. And this doesn't just mean like a microwavable dinner. It means asking if the product actually saves the consumer time or if it's just a gimmick that creates more friction later.
Like those kitchen gadgets that promise to chop your vegetables in 2 seconds, but then take 20 minutes to scrub clean?
Oh, I hate those.
Right. That's a total failure of convenience value.
Exactly, the kind of friction consumers are rejecting right now.
Yeah.
Then there is health value, which is rising across almost all categories. This aligns perfectly with McKinsey identifying the health revolution as a major trend reshaping all consumer behavior.
Everyone wants to feel healthier.
Yeah. Next is emotional value. Sometimes a small treat or just a familiar, comforting brand is entirely enough to justify spending when money feels tight. It's a justified emotional return on investment.
It's a little boost to get through the day. And then we get into waste reduction. I think this is a huge one.
Oh, massive.
A product that lasts longer or comes in a pack size that actually fits the reality of a smaller household might feel much more valuable than a giant bulk item with a lower unit price where, half of it spoils in the pantry.
The modern consumer views waste as a profound failure of value. It's just literally throwing money away.
Yeah.
Finally, there is social and identity value. This encompasses things like sustainability and ethical sourcing. However, and this is a big however, there is a major warning attached to this lever in the NIQ data.
Right. NIQ explicitly notes that 1 in 3 consumers will not buy a sustainable brand if the quality drops compared to a non-sustainable alternative.
It cannot be performative.
Quality and efficacy remain absolutely essential. You can't just slap a green leaf on the box and expect people to accept a product that doesn't actually clean their floors.
Exactly. Performance is non-negotiable.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Looking at this new value map, functional, confidence, convenience, health, emotional, waste, social. I keep picturing like a massive sound mixing board in a recording studio.
Oh, I love that analogy.
You don't just push every single fader to the maximum for every song. That would sound terrible. It would just be a wall of noise.
Right.
You have to mix the track based on what the listener needs to hear.
That mixing board analogy really highlights the required precision here. Value is not a single monolithic message. Let's say you have a pet food brand.
Okay.
You might need to push the emotional fader way up because people love their pets and max out the confidence fader because pet owners are terrified of a formula change causing digestive upset.
Oh, yeah. Nobody wants a sick dog.
But if you're selling a daily shower cleaner, nobody cares about the emotional value. You need to push the functional fader and the waste reduction fader to the absolute top. It has to work fast, and the bottle needs to last a month.
So what does this all mean? Let's expand on that and get really practical for you, the listener. Let's invent a scenario.
Right.
Say you have a mid-level manager trying to save a struggling mid-tier snack brand. Sales are dropping. The traditional corporate reflex would be to run a buy one, get one free promotion. Push the price fader.
Panic mode, yeah.
But based on this mixing board, How do they actually put this into practice to save the product without just destroying their margins?
Well, this is where mid-level managers become the most important players because they are close enough to see the actual hesitation. If we take your snack brand scenario, the different departments need to stop acting in silos and shift their focus to the mixing board.
Break down the walls.
Exactly. Marketing, for instance, needs to completely audit their messaging. Are they just yelling about old features like new look, same great taste, or are they actually providing the proof points that justify the purchase today?
Give me a reason to buy it.
Right. They might need to dial up the health or confidence messaging if the ingredients are clean instead of just shouting about a new bag color.
They need to stop yelling and start justifying. And what about the innovation teams?
Oh, innovation teams have to immediately stop defaulting to value engineering.
Value engineering being the corporate practice of quietly cutting production costs to protect margins.
Yes.
Yeah.
Making the product cheaper to produce. But if you cut costs in a way that destroys the very reason the product was worth buying in the first place, say our snack brand quietly switches from real butter to a cheaper oil blend, you've destroyed the confidence in functional faders. You might have saved a few cents on the spreadsheet, but you've failed the permission to buy test at the shelf.
Because the consumer notices the taste difference, feels cheated, and never buys it again.
Exactly. Furthermore, consumer care and e-commerce teams should be aggressively mining FAQs, complaints, and product reviews.
Looking for clues.
Because those channels often show exactly where the permission to buy test is failing, perhaps there are complaints about the snack bags arriving crushed, which is a waste friction, and they show it long before the quarterly sales data reflects the drop in revenue.
You can literally see the hesitation playing out in the search queries and the one-star reviews.
In real time.
To help teams actually structure all this internally, the C3 Centricity Deep Dive highlights a couple of specific frameworks developed by Drummond-Dunn. The first one is called CatSight.
CatSight is a methodology used to uncover the real consumer aim. The core philosophy here is that your target consumers should not be defined just by their demographics, like women aged 25 to 40, but by their value tension.
Value tension.
Yes. You have to define the category not by where the product physically sits on the shelf, but where it sits in the consumer's mind.
Let's break down how that works mechanically.
Yeah.
If we look at, say, a household surface cleaner, the spreadsheet says it competes with the other surface cleaners in the aisle. But if you apply CatSight, you realize the consumer's value tension isn't about choosing between lemon scent or pine scent.
Right, that's superficial.
Their tension is that they have a crawling toddler, a messy house, and they're terrified of harsh chemicals. So the cleaner isn't competing on price, it's competing on the reassurance of safety. It's competing to resolve that tension.
That is the perfect application of it. CatSight helps a brand find that real human truth beneath the transaction. And according to the research, the real human truth underneath almost all of today's value-seeking behavior isn't cheapness.
What is it?
It is the desire for control.
Control. Wow. I mean, when everything outside your house feels chaotic inflation, the news cycle, the economy, your grocery basket becomes a domain you can actually manage.
Exactly. Consumers want to feel they're making wise, controlled choices in a chaotic world. They want agency. They want to feel smart.
Okay, so that covers the consumer side. But what does this mean for the internal structures of these CPG companies? Because earlier we talked about the silo sales wanting a discount, finance wanting cheaper ingredients, marketing wanting a shiny new ad campaign.
It's a mess.
Getting all those departments to agree on the same mixing board sounds like a corporate nightmare.
It is, and that structural friction is exactly where the second framework comes in, QC2, which stands for Quantum Customer Centricity.
I have to admit, quantum customer centricity sounds a bit like corporate sci-fi jargon. What is it mechanically?
I know, it does, but mechanically it is a diagnostic discipline. It's used to identify where the friction inside the company itself is forcing teams into late-stage, desperate tactical fixes.
Okay.
Let's go back to our struggling snack brand. If the company is misaligned, sales panics and drops the price. Finance panics and uses cheaper ingredients to compensate.
And marketing.
Marketing panics and spends millions trying to convince people the new, cheaper product is somehow still premium. They are all trying to solve three totally different problems, and they end up destroying the product's justification entirely.
They ruin the track because everyone is grabbing different faders on the mixing board at the exact same time.
Precisely. QC2 is a mechanism to align all those departments around the consumer's value map early on, ensuring every choice, from supply chain to advertising, is consumer-led. It stops the late-stage tactical panic.
The research suggests this brilliant, tangible internal exercise to help implement this, and I think any listener managing a product could do this tomorrow.
It's so simple but so effective.
You literally take one of your most important products, put it physically on the table in front of your team, and ask, what makes this feel worth it to our buyer today, and where are we asking the consumer to take too much on trust?
It's an incredibly powerful diagnostic question, because the areas where you're asking the consumer to take too much on trust are exactly the vulnerabilities where the permission to buy test is going to fail at the shelf.
So, synthesizing all these sources, from McKinsey's Resourceful Consumer to Deloitte's High-Income Value Seekers and Denise Drummond-Dunn's frameworks, the unified message is clear. The cautious consumer is not simply demanding cheaper products, they are demanding better reasons to buy.
That is the ultimate takeaway for any brand. Deloitte noted that market growth heavily favors brands that feel worth it across all price tiers, from the budget shelf all the way up to the premium aisle.
But not everyone is doing this well.
Not at all. Currently, only about 1/3 of brands actually achieve that status in the eyes of the consumer. The winning brands do not reduce the concept of value to mere affordability. They meticulously design their products and messaging to make every single choice feel deeply justified.
Well, if you're listening to this and you happen to be a CPG executive feeling that intense pressure on your category, the good news is you don't have to navigate this paradigm shift alone.
Right.
You can actually visit c3centricity.com for more of these incredible insights, and you can even book a free business makeover session with them to start diagnosing that internal friction and rebuilding your value story from the consumer up.
While these frameworks give brands a great roadmap for today, this research raises a fascinating, broader implication that I want to leave you with.
Oh, wait on us.
If we step back, the sources revealed something profound. The ultimate human truth driving all of this cautious, meticulous, value-seeking behavior is that deep psychological desire for control.
Right.
Consumers are scrutinizing their grocery baskets item by item, evaluating the mixing board of value because the basket is their domain in an uncontrollable world.
It's the one thing they can tangibly manage.
But look at where retail technology is heading. We are moving rapidly into an era of AI shopping assistants, automated smart fridge subscriptions, and predictive purchasing algorithms that just autofill your cart based on your habits.
Oh, wow.
So what happens to that fundamental human need for control?
That is a massive collision course. I mean, we started this deep dive by talking about how shopping used to be simple math, a clear equation of price and affordability.
Yeah.
Then we established that today it has evolved into this incredibly complex psychological judgment based on justification and trust. But tomorrow
changes everything.
Tomorrow, you might not even be the one doing the math or making the judgment. You really have to wonder, when the algorithm starts building the basket for us, will we willingly surrender our permission to buy test? Or will the bar for trust and justification become exponentially higher when the purchase itself becomes invisible?